Abayomi Azikiwe is joining us now. He is the editor-in-chief of the Pan-African News Wire. He's joining us for all the latest developments from Zimbabwe. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
What was your reaction today to these huge demonstrations?
Well, there were different political elements that were involved in the demonstrations. There, of course, was elements of the ZANU, Zimbabwe African National Union Patriotic Front ruling party, but there were also opposition forces that were part of the demonstration as well, which have never supported ZANU-PF. So it was an interesting mix of political forces inside of Zimbabwe. Everyone is waiting in anticipation to see the outcome of these mediation talks, and also the role of the Central Committee of ZANU-PF and the position that they will arrive at in regard to this internal crisis in the party.
Do you expect there to be some type of compromise or mediation when these talks go on?
It's already going on since Thursday. The Southern African Development Community, which is headed by neighboring Republic of South Africa, sent the Minister of Defense as well as the Minister of State Security to begin mediation talks between the two rival factions of ZANU-PF. Emmerson Mnangagwa, who is the former vice president, is a leading figure in ZANU-PF, and of course other factions within the organization, principally the one that is allied around the First Lady Grace Mugabe, developed differences which became irreconcilable 2 weeks ago that led to the dismissal of Vice President Mnangagwa. But I think the Southern African Development Community, along with the African Union, as well as people within the ZANU-PF ruling party itself, do not want to see any type of violent conflict within Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe has accomplished a tremendous amount of advances over the last 37 years. Zimbabwe is the most literate state on the African continent, with over 95% of the people there being able to read and write. They have tremendous educational institutions. 17 years ago, the ruling ZANU-PF party embarked upon a radical land redistribution program that has provided millions of hectares of land to indigenous African farmers to cultivate agricultural production. So unfortunately, these differences have become sharp over the last several months, but hopefully they will be able to be resolved in a very peaceful and stable manner.
Do you believe it's the right move to reinstate Mnangagwa?
I think this is one key element of the mediation process. Mnangagwa has tremendous support, particularly among the Zimbabwe Defense Forces. This is why early Wednesday morning, they took over the state Zimbabwe broadcasting studios and made an announcement to the people of Zimbabwe, as well as the people of the world, that President Robert Mugabe remained the head of state, and that, of course, he will not be harmed, that his security as well as security of his family is guaranteed, and that they wanted to exert their authority as the defense forces in Zimbabwe in regard to the future developments inside the country. I believe that both factions of the party want to bring about an amicable resolution to these differences, and unfortunately it has come to this, but fortunately there are very strong regional institutions in Southern Africa. The 15-member SADC regional organization has the infrastructure in place to deal with these type of conflicts. A military seizure of power in Southern Africa is almost unprecedented. Only in Lesotho have we seen periodic interventions by the military. This has never happened in Zimbabwe or any other country in the region. So I think the SADC leadership is very much involved in this entire process.
The Southern Regional African Bloc will meet in Angola Tuesday. What is the best case scenario here that will come out of this?
There should be a mediated resolution to the differences between the ZANU-PF factions, the one that is led by Emmerson Mnangagwa, and of course the supporters of President Mugabe. This is the best possible resolution to these disagreements. There's been no violence in the streets of Harare. No one has been injured. There's been no deaths. And of course, this is a strong testament to the political sophistication of regional institutions. During the 1960s and 1970s, as well as the 1980s, there were numerous military coups d'etats throughout the African continent. And people have learned lessons over the last 30 to 50 years in regard to the danger of military intervention in politics in Africa. Today, any attempt by a military force to seize power in Africa is immediately met with resistance by both the AU along with the regional institutions in the various geopolitical areas of the continent. So I think this is a testament to the lessons that have been learned over the last few decades.